Hey everybody, welcome back to Keeping It Real, IGN Movies podcast. Jim, Roth, Chris Carl, all here to bring you the latest in genre movie news. We will get into the box office at the end of this podcast. There are a lot of things we want to talk about today in a compressed period of time. So let us dive in with our reactions to the brand new trailer, Avengers Age of Ultron, our first look at Vision. Chris Carl, you go first since you're having a conniption.
Oh my God, dude. There were so many moments. I think we were hoping that this, because I felt like the first one and the second one were kind of similar-ish, you know. This one like really opened up the world. We saw a lot more stuff. I mean, that Hulkbuster thing up the side of the building, the slow shot. Yeah. Just so many like little moments there. And you know that that's not it. You know that there's something even better waiting for you inside that movie. So that's what I'm stoked on.
You certainly hope.
You hope so.
And assume.
But you know, it was that way with Avengers. When we got Avengers, the trailer, it was like, this is a really cool trailer. But then you get to the movie, there's all kinds of excellent, awesome extra parts.
Yeah.
The Thor punch or the Hulk punch on Loki was amazing.
Or the Loki ragdoll.
Yeah, exactly that. It's just so good, so good.
And then, what was it? Hulk punching Thor, that was another one.
Exactly. All that stuff.
And then there are a lot of the things that I'm looking forward to the movie are really the character moments, not just the holy crap action moments. Obviously love those, but one of those moments in this trailer was the Hulk, the Banner, Black Widow. She's Scarlett Johansson, but we have a Scarlet Witch.
It does. It trips me up too.
You know,
yeah.
so
Witch,
between them
Johansson,
two, it's those little things. The Ultron stuff, Vision. What did you think of the first look of Vision, Roth?
I thought he looked amazing.
Yeah,
so cool.
Like the little shutterbug eye thing.
I loved those eyes. Yeah. I thought he looked. I really, really enjoyed the trailer. I will say that I was like, oh, well, my first question to Joss Whedon would be, are you okay? Because but you're always kind of wondering if he's okay. But this one, I was like, when you start to and it also maybe says something about the mood that I was in watching it. But when you start to sort of agree with the I you're like, oh.
I think you need to agree with Ultron in order to buy into him as a villain.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, people always knock Marvel for not having great villains. I feel like he could be a really good one.
Yeah.
The character moment that, you might mention character moments, I thought the one between Tony and I think Cap, where he's talking about like, he's screwed up and he needs to fix it. And it's like, you probably shouldn't fix anything anymore.
Well, that scene was the one that they showed when they did the Slate 3 announcement, and they showed that scene. I think it was it shown on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? No, was it?
Yeah,
I think it leaked online, but it's a great scene because it's all drama, and they're chopping wood at Hawkeye's ranch, and basically it's the seeds of Civil War right there. In that scene.
Yeah, I mean, they're having I think they're having the philosophical debate in this movie that will lead to the events of Civil War, and they've already talked about that. I will shamelessly plug our set visit interviews on the site, which, and Chris Evans talked about just that, about Ultron having a particular ideology that you can, if you don't totally agree, you can't agree that, yes, let's wipe out the human race.
I think you would, Roth. You like your death and mayhem and burn it all.
I like my burn it all I'm like Joss Whedon, where I like it in my fiction. That's my cathartic
Let me
place.
ask you this.
I don't like it in real life.
Can we replace them all with kittens?
Yes.
I get to choose the people and the rest of them can be kittens. Can we do that?
Earth's greatest meow meows.
You have like 500 humans and the rest of them are kittens. There are islands like that.
Yeah, that island in Japan where the cats took over.
I don't know.
That was amazing.
It's like we went from Avengers somehow to Cat Island, and I'm okay with that. That's fine.
You know, that's Avengers 5 right there. Avengers Cat Island.
I would watch it.
I do think it looks amazing in terms of the character work as well. But there's some cool action.
So many moving parts in this. I mean, you got Strucker, you got Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, you have Banner and Black Widow, you have Tony and his conscience, Tony and Cap, Vision, Hawkeye'll do something, Thor and his stuff going on. My God, there's Ulysses Claw. There's what kind of it sounds like. Could this thing actually be kind of like just a mess
Too much.
too? I mean,
I'm
I'm
be
just
like
wondering.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's long.
It's funny because Joshua and I were saying, we just did the rewind for it, and I was saying that at the end. I said exactly that. There's so many moving parts to it, and that's not even mentioning some of the ancillary characters like that you can see on the poster are going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Peggy Carter's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Although I have a
Falcon's
going to be. I have a very specific feeling about what Peggy Carter's going to do, though.
Yeah.
I think she's just going to be part of Cap's nightmare that Scarlet Witch gives him. Like, I think she's going to call her up for him.
Yeah. Well, that'd be interesting, actually, if it plays out that a lot of these characters are just there to be essentially figments in a way.
I think Claw is going to be like not that huge of a part of it. I think you're going to see him for a little while, and maybe that'll set up Black Panther stuff.
Right.
Wakanda, same way. All that stuff is just going to get set up in this movie, and we'll see, I think, way more of it actually in Civil War. Yeah, I'm getting excited for this, and Civil War is not too far off either.
No,
if
it's
you,
a
if
year
you think
away.
about it.
They're going to start filming, I believe, a little later this year, pretty soon.
I'll tell you what kind of, since it's kind of still the beginning of the year, we're still doing some like planning for the whole year as we do at the beginning of every year. Every single time I write the slate of movies that goes up this year, I get to the end of the year and there's The Force Awakens at the end. And then like next year there's like Civil War in there, and every time I'm like kind of get like that little shiver, like I can't wait. Star Wars is happening this year. Like Avengers 2 is happening this year.
Which one are you more excited for? You have to choose.
Star Wars.
Okay, that was very easy.
Yeah, I mean, Avengers 2, I feel like I know what I'm going to get to some extent, and that's not a bad thing, but like Star Wars is such a question mark, and could be so glorious.
And we hope that it is.
Yeah.
Let's one more Marvel thing I wouldn't mind talking about. In fact, we are going to talk about it. Drew Goddard. Drew Goddard reportedly writing and directing, or in negotiations to write and direct, Marvel and Sony's Spider-Man reboot, a shared universe Spider-Man. Drew Goddard, if you guys didn't know, not only did Cabin in the Woods, he was supposed to do Sinister Six for Sony, and it sounds like, according to some rumors, maybe the Spidey reboot will see Sinister Six fighting Spidey in this, and that, there's a rumor that Iron Man could pop up in the Spidey movie to kind of see like, okay, you passed the test, you can be an Avenger. Should Iron Man be in Spider-Man's reboot?
To further pass the mantle a bit?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be kind of interesting, right?
I guess.
And further tie those.
Yeah, something
I
is
think
going
it's
to
really
cross
more
that
for
way.
money, though.
Yeah.
I think it's like, let's hit that $1 billion mark.
Well, we assume that everything is for money.
Yes.
I mean, this entire deal is motivated by everybody's desire to make more money.
Yeah.
And,
I think Marvel has a real
and my
desire
desire to give them my money.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think Marvel has a real desire to shepherd that character forward, to shepherd Spider-Man forward. I really think they do. They also have the merchandising rights for that character, but whatever. I think it could be. I love Drew Goddard, and so I think whatever the motivations are, I would trust him to handle them deftly.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we talked about it countless times that like we think Goddard is a good person for Spidey, any project really, but like this one I think he'll do well at, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know these guys well enough to make this call, but I think he and Feige would do good work together.
Yeah.
Well, they did. Goddard was already in the Marvel Studios wheelhouse. He was working on Daredevil until that kind of he had to leave that to go pursue Sinister Six. So, obviously everyone's like, "Guy's okay. We can work with him. He's our guy."
Yeah.
One Spidey thing I want to bring up, which is something a little. Something you talked to this guy today, Freddie Highmore. Tell the folks about what he had to say about Spider-Man.
So Freddie Highmore stars on Bates Motel as Norman Bates, if you don't know, and he's
also
great.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
He's also in Finding Neverland.
He was also in Finding Neverland. That was his first
Astro Boy.
Yeah, he's
a young British actor.
He's a young British actor who's had a nice career so far. But he definitely is one of the names. Now, we don't know exactly, like initially we thought in the initial press release it was going to be Peter Parker, traditional sort of Spider-Man, and then some rumors have surfaced that maybe it's...
I think that initial press release is pretty telling.
Yeah.
Like, I think the rumors are...
I'm sure all the language was going over $1 million.
Yeah, like that's what I'm thinking. Like that original press release is like, Peter Parker's going to be in it. We don't know who else is going to be in it.
Right.
Yeah.
But...
So the idea, so Freddie Highmore is a person that people have said, "Oh wow,"
And those people being us.
well, but yeah, a lot of other people
And a lot
too.
of other readers, yeah. and stuff.
Saying he is a person that could make sense as Spider-Man. So of course,
Just think about it. You're going to want to cast if the Spidey movie is coming out. I think what is it, July 2017, and he's going to pop up in one Marvel movie beforehand.
probably Civil War.
Then wouldn't and they want him to be a high school age kid.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be looking at like a 16, 17-year-old actor for right now? And so by the time his own movie comes around and you need him to be able to work the full day, he'd be 18.
Yeah.
But you got to believe that this is somebody who looks like they're in high school.
Freddie looks like he's in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah, you could do like
Dylan
20,
O'Brien doesn't
21,
look like
yeah.
that, and he's
Yeah.
even said he's the guy from Maze Runner and Teen Wolf. He even said that there's more smoke than fire there. That nobody has contacted him professionally about this.
He plays Norman now, who's a high school student. He looks really young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
And I think he can look like he's in high school for the next 20 years if he wants to.
Yeah.
The Greg Miller at the Marvel
you
Universe.
know, so I don't think actually there is any restriction on that. But of course, he said he would love to do it, and he talked about the appeal of the character.
I have a really nerdy question, and I don't mean to cut you off. Is this now considered MCU?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're calling it MCU?
Yeah, he's going to be in the MCU movies.
No, but I'm
Basically,
saying the
they can
Spider-Man
share.
standalone movies, are those considered
that's
part of
Sony,
MCU?
right?
But
Well,
it's a shared universe.
But it's a shared universe.
So
yeah.
Marvel characters can show up in Sony films.
So I mean,
the
technically
Sony-
it is.
It's
Yeah.
a shared, it's Marvel. It's now canon in terms of the MCU. But my understanding from trade reports is that basically Marvel Studios doesn't make any money off of
Right.
the Sony Spidey movies, and Sony doesn't make any money off the MCU movies.
But
That's
everybody
basically. But everyone's going to make money.
Yeah,
because
it's not a handshake deal, by the
Think
way.
about it, it's almost like it reminds me kind of baseball or something where you trade you trade one of your players or something.
Yeah, you get another player.
Or I don't know. That's a bad analogy. Forget that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you are talking about certain terms, and I think what they think, the reason that there's no money trading hands is that they think it's an even trade. They're going to get even more cachet for their characters, putting them in there. They get to get their character back in a way. They get to
and they
reclaim
get to
control.
help mold it,
Yeah.
in the right way. And I think I legitimately look. Marvel is a great business, right? They know how to make money, but I think they also do care about the creative output.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Feige legitimately cares about these characters and
Right.
wants to see them done the right way.
Wouldn't you guys like to go see Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Kevin Feige?
Yes.
Like, just to see what that experience
See,
is
like,
like?
how if he was like hitting
I've
himself.
had some off the
or-
record conversations with him about a couple of non-Marvel controlled Marvel movies, and it was interesting to watch his face react to things.
I mean, I think
I'll
he's.
say that.
I think he is genuinely sort of open to different takes on Marvel characters, and I think he's open to superhero movies of all kinds being good. Like he's made comments to us about that, and I think. Like nobody wants to go see a crappy movie, even if it's a DC movie. It's like you might want to see a DC movie not do as well financially as yours, but who wants to see
I
a
don't
bad
think
Wonder
it
Woman
helps
movie?
their business if
doesn't.
a DC film tanks.
It
We'll
doesn't.
actually get to DC in a bit. There was one more Marvel thing I wanted to bring up, which was director James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy, said that his favorite superhero will be in Guardians 2. And of course, people automatically thought it was a male superhero, and he took them to task for that because he's like, why would you think that, Internet? Why do you always think everything is about a man? And he's like, so basically it's going to be a female superhero.
I got really excited about Beta Ray Bill. But
I basically am of the opinion, I think it's going to be Quasar. Because there's been a female Quasar and a male Quasar. And I think because he also said in previous things that they want to do, they just want to keep Peter Quill the only actual Earthling.
Yeah.
So like there are some other characters like Moondragon and what's her name, Mantis, who are either born on Earth or have some sort of Earth tie that maybe kind of negates that. But
Wasn't there initial speculation that Captain Marvel could connect with them?
Yeah,
yeah,
what I was
but he
thinking
shot
too.
that
But he
down.
said no, right?
Yeah. because again, she's an Earthling.
Yeah.
And he doesn't.
Oh, just an earthling.
I don't
Just
feel
an
like
Earthling.
I don't feel like he actually like puts up smoke screens about
Yeah,
stuff.
he's pretty-
he's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. I think if he says, "Yeah, no, that's not the right direction we're going,"
Then
he's
it's
pretty
not.
straightforward.
Yeah.
With that.
Let's switch it up actually and talk about DC because there are some DC things. Now, we didn't podcast last week. We were on the road. But we got our first look.
Made it sound like
At-
planes, trains, and automobiles.
I know, we
Those
did.
aren't pillows, Jim.
They weren't.
They're not
Let me tell you,
pillows.
they were not pillows.
I don't know.
Although
Sorry.
you could certainly fluff them up.
Oh, well,
Hey, you
I
went
don't
there.
know if that was an invitation or
I
a
don't
statement
know.
of
Yeah.
fact or a
It's-
statement of intent.
I think it was an observation
it's
of
fine.
fact.
I'll just
Observation of
call
fact.
HR
So-
quick.
I also think it was an invitation, but for
Well,
you.
speaking about fluffing pillows, Aquaman. We got our first look at Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
He's fluffing a lot of people's pillows
Love his
just by
pillows.
being.
And well, what'd you guys think of you actually did a conversation, I believe, about
With
why we
Joshua.
like his look. So, Carl, what do you think?
Yeah, love it, love it, love
Yeah.
it, love it.
You
so
don't miss
good.
the orange tunic
Love
and the
it.
green pants.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. You know what? I'm actually really curious about Aquaman more than his look because I thought Momoa was going to be good as Aquaman. Is the water, man?
It's gonna be a tough effect.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna be a tough
expensive.
and
Yeah.
really, really, really expensive effect. And so just
Let's
constant,
just
constant water.
contextualize that, just because I don't know that everybody understands how, like, as a CG effect, that water is one of the most difficult and one of the
still,
most
20
expensive.
years
Yeah,
later.
one of the most
and
expensive.
and when it's done well, it's super impressive, but it's
There's
hard
a
to do
reason
well.
why those Pirates movies cost
Yeah.
basically a small country every time they make one.
Yeah.
So like when
What
water,
if they just stick them in a pool and the whole thing, it looks like Man from Atlantis in the 70s?
That's what if it's Momoa, it's gonna be awesome.
we're gonna be so distracted by the Momoa-ness of it that it's not even gonna matter. It's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be like
be really motivated to see that movie.
it's gonna be like a little Nerf shark. We won't
With
even
a
care.
hand frame. Yeah. Good stuff.
Look, they had to cut back. It was.
I'm excited about his look. I'm excited about that movie. You know, the CG-ness aside, we'll see that in the first trailer.
I really
It'll
do
look good.
wonder, is he going to actually communicate with the fish? Will he get the.
Better.
He has so many powers. He has so many powers.
Yeah.
He better do that with a badass army of sharks.
Yeah,
That's
like
what
a-
I want to do.
like-
Like,
Like riding up on a big wave.
Is he going to be riding a seahorse too?
what was that? Do that again. Do it again. Oh,
Yeah.
I want to see him on a whale
Shark
shark.
wave.
Don't you wanna see him, like, commanding a whale
riding,
shark?
Riding a whale shark, and then it
We're writing
becomes-
this movie right
and
now.
then it becomes-
and then he
and
rides
then
a whale
it
shark.
becomes land shark magically.
This movie is now
On land.
$480 million. This is, so we've covered Aquaman. I want to throw out this news bit. Wonder Woman is going to start filming this fall, and her movie comes out in 2017, I think, too. I'm drawing a blank. There's so many superhero movie dates. Even people who do this stuff every day, it's tough to keep them all straight in your head. But her movie finally starts filming this fall. And so, yeah, we're excited about both of those.
And that's a show of confidence for whatever what they've shot so far for Batman vs Superman. Dawn of Justice, because no, I mean it really is, because it was one of those things where it felt like previously like, oh, they're going to test the waters with her and see if it's working, but obviously it is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the second they announced that slate, they said,
We're doing this
we're
one
doing
way or
it.
another.
We're in. We're doing it.
Things can get canceled.
Gal.
They can get moved.
I still think
It's
some of those might not actually happen.
I really do too.
I'll see about Green Lantern.
The one that I'm actually think has the most potential to sort of get canceled is The Flash, because I feel like The Flash, if the TV series continues to do really well, I kind of feel like it's fine to have Flash in Justice League as a
Yeah.
different character, but then when you put him in a standalone movie, I think that's when it's going to seem dissonant with TV.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting question because, look, The Flash does really well for the CW as a CW show, but it's not as if
That's true.
so many more people would see that movie than every single week.
Yeah, it's not like you're doing a Game of Thrones movie that
Yeah.
has totally different people from the Game of Thrones.
Or
TV show.
Walking Dead, like that's
Yeah.
a juggernaut where 20 million people, some odd, are tuning in each week.
Or NCIS.
Could we ever see a Walking Dead movie?
I think so. I mean, it's like
Will we ever see it?
I think we could, but I bet you probably wouldn't have any of the characters, maybe, or maybe one of them. Like Rick will show up, like passing through or something.
Yeah,
it's an
just
interesting
Carl.
thing about that series that it's such a total juggernaut, and yet it's not like their movie careers are kind of.
Yeah, it's not like
none of
Andrew
them, really.
Lincoln's
Yeah.
out opening movies right now.
I got the sense, though, when talking to him, that he is perfectly happy going and doing his stint in Atlanta, Andrew Lincoln.
Okay.
That he loves that, and then he also loves his sort of like quiet home life back in England. You know, like he doesn't. It sounds like he doesn't really want a lot more than that, you know, because it's like it's grueling for one thing. The Walking Dead cast gets kind of put through the ringer.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
So-
yeah. Think about it. You're
hot.
always outdoors. You're filming in Atlanta.
They're all dirty.
You know?
They make
Yeah.
you dirty, and
I think I'd want 6 months
and the
off.
stuff they put on you. I've had this like back in the day of acting. The stuff that they put on you, to make you look greasy, is so nasty.
Yeah, I played a cannibal zombie because I ate another zombie, but cannibal zombie and Dylan Dog Dead of Night. I did 2 days in New Orleans in the summer, covered in makeup, mud, fake blood, all that.
uncomfortable.
It's awful.
And then you went to set.
And yeah, exactly. And you're standing around most of the time. I have such respect, not just for the actors doing it, but the extras playing the zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Oh,
yeah.
sucks.
And the crew, and
And you're like, oh, you get to be in this thing.
Yeah.
About 3 hours of that, you're like, I quit. I don't
Yeah.
care. You're like,
I was
yeah,
in
I don't wanna do this.
Superbad, and it shot in. I was in the background of the party scene. It shot in Chatsworth in August.
This is the segment of the podcast that we call Humble Brag.
Humble
Yeah.
brag, yeah. No, it was in Chatsworth in August, so it was like 120 degrees in this house,
Ugh.
and it was like a house with like shag carpet and all the film
It's
equipment.
the house
in there.
party scene, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so, but it was like the hottest day ever. And they had this huge tube hooked up to air conditioners, and they were blowing it in the house, and you could not feel it. I suspect that actually most of it went to the director's tent in the back. But because the house was like, everybody felt like they were on the verge of passing out. It was super, super hot in there. And it's like, you're on a set. People don't understand. You're on a set for like 16 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a short day. It's
Imagine like
connected.
standing at the
do.
airport for 16 hours. That's
Yeah.
kind of some days what
Yeah.
it feels
To
like.
do one trip, and then there's the people that are really suffering are the crew. I mean,
Oh, yeah, 'cause they
nobody's
can't break.
babying them. you
Yeah,
know?
no, there's no
That's
running
true.
off to AC for
Yeah.
them. They're hauling butt all day.
And those guys are awesome, and they bring you your movies.
They do.
Man.
That's why we don't pirate. This is a section. Be like,
This just
"Oh."
turned into a G.I. Joe PSA. Like
More you
Flint
know.
should be walking out of a bathroom stall and say, kids,
Listen, soldiers.
This is what it takes to make a movie.
One more DC thing though.
Oh, that was the DC segment.
Yeah, it was. And
Oh, okay.
hey, look, we all got a little humble bragging on that one.
Carry on, my wayward son.
Sid, believe it or not, one of the biggest things we wrote about this week was a celebrity haircut. Jared Leto
Yes.
got his hair cut and shaved off that nasty-looking beard of his that he's been rocking for about 2 years.
Nasty or beautiful?
I don't know. It depends on who you ask. I've seen. He really.
We could do a poll.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, whatever. But he cut off his hair and his beard to play the Joker, and it was all captured on social media. But he didn't just do that.
No.
We found out today
no.
he bleached it too, and the eyebrows. He's got his full Fight Club look back.
Yeah.
But Chris, you were telling me.
Yes.
Explain to people why that Joker isn't going to be bleach blonde.
No.
He's no Billy Idol.
It's a building block to green hair.
Yeah.
And his hairdresser did show this neon green hair dry. So
Yeah, you don't start from dark. When you need to put color into hair, you go blonde. You might
Yep,
know this.
I do
You
know
go
this.
blonde first. You bleach it
You're
out,
not really blonde?
and then you build.
Well, I am blonde, but when I was a little punk rock teenager and I dyed my hair purple, you have
Yeah.
to bleach it out first
And that's
so that
why-
it will take the color.
That's why hair gets so fried. Like you
Yeah.
can't do that many chemical treatments.
isn't
to
that
it.
why Jennifer Lawrence ended up having to cut all her hair?
She did. She just
Yeah.
did so much damage dyeing it back and forth.
It's tough. I mean, and like actors go through that all the time, where it's like I think eventually you just have to go short with it.
Well, Denzel Washington actually was losing hair when he was doing Malcolm X because they had to dye it red.
Oh yeah.
And he said it started coming out in clumps.
Yeah.
It was super damaging.
Yeah.
We were speculating that he would be possibly kind of a punk rock kind of Joker, that he would have that.
But he's
sort
also
of
got
edge.
kind of like that haircut. Almost looks like the new Joker look
Yeah.
that of the recent one where he's got almost, it looks almost like Boardwalk Empire
Yeah.
style, you know?
What if,
or early 90s.
what did David Ayer say about Joker?
Oh, he
called
said
him
he's going to
epic?
be majestic.
Majestic. I don't think he's going to be a punk rocker.
You think he's
I
going to
think he's
be.
going to be
I think it's,
regal.
yeah.
You know,
he's going to
he's gonna
look,
be
I bet you
clean
he'll
and-
look like a decadent like King Louis or something.
He looks
whatever.
like in the shot that they showed, I was like, he looks like Klaus von Bülow
Yeah.
to me. Like that's,
He does.
and he'll be Klaus von Bülow with green hair, I guess.
Tell the
Very-
people who Klaus von Bülow is if they don't know.
The people don't know who Klaus von Bülow is?
No, probably
Tell
not.
the people.
Reversal of Fortune. Well, Jeremy Irons played Klaus von Bülow.
Won an Oscar.
Won an Oscar in Reversal of Fortune and coined this very famous line, which you probably do know.
That's
which
my
is,
butter.
Not that's
No,
my
now
butter.
you totally made me laugh.
It's the stupidest line in movie history.
I have no idea what just happened here, folks. Anyways, Klaus von Bülow was a guy, rich
You're-
socialite
you're
who
very-
poisoned his wife.
Yeah, he played
And, but he ended up being, well, we should say he was tried twice, and who gives a damn anymore? Let's move on. Just watch Reversal of Fortune.
He's a rich socialite murderer, but this is a line, and you'll
No,
know from
she lingered in a coma. I think she only just died a few years ago. She was in a coma for like
Great.
20
So
years.
she
Never
tried to
mind.
murder his wife in Reversal of Fortune. Anyway, Klaus von Bülow is the real man. Jeremy Irons played him, and in the movie he said, "You're a very strange man. You have no idea." And then he said it again in The Lion King, but that's where it came from. Reversal
That's
of
right.
Fortune. Not that's my butter.
That's my butter.
This is so gone off the rails. Let's moving on from this. Let's talk about that Power Rangers fan film, huh?
Let's do.
Let's do that. Where they actually do say that's my butter, don't they? No. What'd you guys think of the movie and just first off, and then I want to ask something a little bit more specific about it. So here's my specific question about that movie, which is, okay, there's fan films, and then there is union producer, union actors,
Yeah.
union director making a film, even if they say it's not for profit, of copyrighted material owned by a corporation. To me, that's not a fan film. That's a proof of concept reel, but you shouldn't make it
I
public.
think everything gets looped into fan film, right? It's like it is at its base level a fan making a film of something.
Right.
So
But it's
whether
not
they
like
use
the kids who
union
made Troops or
Right,
that
right.
Raiders thing that's out there.
It's
Like,
definitely different from
these
that.
are actual Hollywood people who've made movies, who starred movies.
Or the
and-
intrepid man who made the live-action Thundercats trailer, which is like one of the best things I've ever seen
Okay.
ever.
There's-
plugging that.
You know,
I love that thing, and I don't care.
I think it's you know, it's an interesting thought because you know there's room for this in parody, right? Like it's arguable in the law that it's fair use because
I mean,
it's
Funny
parody.
or Die does that kind of stuff.
I was gonna bring up Funny or Die because I feel like that's like a pretty close thing to what these are, except they're not released on a platform. So you know they'll do like a Captain Planet thing with a funny take on it.
Yeah.
So like
This isn't a parody, though.
it's protected, but
but
it is in a different way.
It is in a different way because I actually don't think that they were. Proof of concept would be like the Mortal Kombat web series, where that was really about like, oh, I could do this thing and maybe it would eventually be a cool movie, right? This, I think, was a comment not so much about the Power Rangers even at all, but more about, and the director even came out and talked about this, but about Hollywood's tendency to take properties and make them dark and gritty. They were like, what is the furthest extension of that you could find if you took the Power Rangers and made it super murdery? You know, like,
But
which is
couldn't
already,
you just write a column about that? Why did you make a filmed thing that is it's self-serving?
Because honestly, that is so much more powerful of a message than a column. It's true, it's sad,
Yeah.
but true. But that is so much more illustrative of that a word?
Illustrative? I don't know.
Illustrative? Did I
Illustrative.
just say illustrative? Why did I pronounce it like that? Anyway, of the point.
She thought she was British
Oh,
earlier. She
so
said
British.
whilst earlier. Seriously,
Did you
she
say
said
whilst?
whilst.
I like
said
that.
whilst.
Whilst. That's
Whatever.
I mean, that's not how you pronounce it, but carry on.
That is a far more powerful illustration of that point than any column would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
But where does it stop though? Can I then let's say I was a union filmmaker. Let's say Michael Bay wanted to do what the hell, 12 Years a Slave thing.
Oh, wow.
Let's say Michael Bay wanted to do a movie about politics.
Anything. At what point though is it just by saying, well, we're not here to make money? I mean, to me, parody, the definition of parody, is it meant to be for humor's sake, as a satirical examination of something, or
satire is not
are you just trying to get away with not paying for using something?
I'd say satire is not always about humor. Something can be satirical and you don't laugh at it necessarily. I don't know.
Most of our jokes.
I'm kind of.
I'm self-deprecating.
I'm not going to say it again. So
Do it,
don't worry about it.
That's my butter.
Oh boy, the birth of a catchphrase. Let's go. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on the camp of like, I don't mind these so much, but like they're expensive to do if you don't know if they're going to go anywhere. So like it might just be a trend for now, and then studios start clamping down on this and say this isn't going to happen.
Well,
anymore.
it was a back-to-back because there was also a James Bond one that did get yanked, and the producer did not want to put it back up on YouTube. Or Vimeo.
My guess is that we won't see too many more of these because they are becoming so problematic.
Right.
I agree with you in the sense that of a pure fan film, the person is obviously making just because they are passionate about this property and they want to celebrate it in some way. And then a parody is obviously typically what Funny or Die or Saturday Night Live does.
Yeah.
This is some other zone, but I also don't really think it is a proof of concept because I don't think that is a feature film that they are trying to really make.
Well, I don't know. They're developing a Power Rangers movie that did say that they're not, but that director, maybe he's trying to say, hey, I should direct your movie.
Yeah, but
they are saying the movie's going to be darker and grittier than the TV show was.
Which is almost like a foregone conclusion because you couldn't go much further on the brightness scale. But I mean, I think sometimes people are motivated like that. I agree with Roth. I think the Mortal Kombat thing was like, look, we could make a really cool Mortal Kombat thing, whether it's a movie or a series. This one didn't feel like that to me.
The Deadpool footage was like that too.
Exactly.
It's basically proof of concept, for a project that they wanted to do, that they were, up for the job, but they didn't have the job. And then,
you could
it
see the
leaked,
Ant-Man test
but it worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Marvel did that themselves.
Yeah,
They owned it,
I mean, the Mortal Kombat thing, especially, it was done as a trailer. He did it as a trailer just on his own before the web series even existed, and that's what got the web series to exist. So I do think there are sometimes things that are meant to be proof of concept.
And even if they aren't meant to be, sometimes they are.
They serve that way.
They aren't, exactly.
They ultimately serve that purpose. But I do think that this is in another weird area, that it isn't quite any of those things. And I don't think that this is the the Power Rangers movie that we're going to get.
I want to just throw out some news items. They're doing another basically Secret of NIMH movie. It's based on the book of Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH. But this one, like Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Smurfs, will be a live-action CG animated hybrid.
But hopefully not like them.
I know. Hey, look, people, I'm bringing you the good news.
I think.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think Secret of NIMH is fine as it is.
Didn't they made a sequel too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I never saw the sequel. I only saw the first one.
Secret of NIMH is a great movie.
Secret of NIMH actually is interesting if you watch that and like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
It's a similar kind of thing. Like animals get exposed to this thing, they kind of rise up.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I like that movie. It could be good. It depends on who's doing it,
Well, funny you say that, and I love my segues. The Tomb Raider reboot is now set up at Warner Brothers, and I believe MGM is involved as well. But the writer is this guy, Evan Doherty, and he has worked on Divergent, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I think his biggest credit probably is Snow White and the Huntsman. So he's done movies that are sort of genre movies with a female lead. But of course, the minute people hear Ninja Turtles, they're freaking out. But what do you think about a Tomb Raider reboot? It's going to be more
Darker
like
and grittier.
it's going to be more like the new game, and it's going to be like her first adventure. But I don't know. How do you do? Because those first 2 movies made money.
That game is so good, by the way. If you haven't played it, it is.
But
one
how
of
do
the
you
better games.
do a Tomb Raider movie now that I don't know? How do you?
Just
what's
like the
the
game.
take on it?
Yeah, just like the game. You do it just like the game, and I think people would latch on to that. It's it's basically female Indiana Jones. She's got a hard edge. She's like tough and awesome, and everything about that game was great. And I think if they are following that path, that is the path to follow. So. Also, to your point about like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you kind of can't freak out about that. Like people do all kinds of stuff on the path to their thing that like they really put their mark on. Just wait and see the movie. Like James Gunn did. What's the famous example of James Gunn's writing that?
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo. Everybody always brings that up, and it's like, so what?
Oh yeah, 10 years ago he
It's
was
Hollywood,
persona non
guys.
grata on the internet.
You want to work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You do projects.
You get hired to do something, you're going to do it and be happy that you got a job.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that too, there's probably so many people that have no idea, like a whole generation of people that have not seen Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raider movies, and this will be a new exposure. And then there's going to be people that actually, it might even be a draw to revisit that world. Those aren't the most critically acclaimed movies ever.
But they are some of the most. If I think they are the most successful video game movies.
Yeah.
Speaking of like following up on things years later, Blade Runner 2 officially announced. Director Denis Villeneuve, I might be getting his name wrong, but he did Prisoners and Last House on the Left, and I think Enemy, right? That Jake Gyllenhaal thing from last year. And Harrison Ford are both, announced as coming back. Harrison Ford coming back as Rick Deckard. Do we need a Blade Runner 2? I frankly don't. I like Blade Runner 1 just fine. I think it's. I feel like it's a movie that's more admired than enjoyed in some ways. But
I love Blade Runner.
I just feel like this is going to be like another Tron Legacy.
It's funny because I understand. I think you're right, and I think that Blade Runner certainly in the last 10 years or so has come under some kind of like criticism, and people are like, "Oh, it's overrated," and some people legitimately feel that way. It's really truly one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love it. It ended in such a way that it left a question mark about. I mean, spoiler alert, I guess, like 30 years later. Whether he was a replicant or not.
Doesn't it depend on which cut you've seen, though?
It depends
That's
on
one of the
which-
frustrating things about that movie.
It does depend on which cut you've seen.
11 different friggin' variations.
It does depend on which cut you've seen, yeah. But there's a certain cut that leaves that open. So, like, this movie would either definitively answer that, or replicants are very different than we'd understood them to be.
Yeah.
You know.
Or maybe he was the basis for that.
Yeah.
That replicant, and he's not the actual guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's possibilities. The tone. Have you seen Prisoners?
Yeah.
You've seen Prisoners and
Yeah.
Enemy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he has a cool.
Yeah.
I think he's a
tone.
good director. I like him a lot. I just feel like I don't know why we're going back to this well.
Yeah.
Especially since Blade Runner has been ripped off by so many other movies.
Yeah.
I really do think I just think it's a mistake. And
It's Blade Runner is the #1 sci-fi movie of all time, according to IGN.com, in our top 25 list. I still love watching that movie. Like if it's on TV, that's one of those movies where I'm like, yeah.
it doesn't feel dated if you overlook
effects
the
are
Atari and other things.
The
But
effects are really, really good. They really hold up, and it's a
here for
testament.
practical effects.
It's a testament to practical effects because they look better over time than CG ones do. I watched some video where I saw the Compton Jabba the Hutt today, and I was like, ugh. You know, like how
Compton?
bad that looked, and you know, like they put him over.
Oh,
the
I
actor.
was thinking Compton,
not
like
Compton,
straight out of Compton.
We'll talk about that later.
What the hell mashup videos going around that I haven't
Whole different take on Jabba.
the
Straight out of
Empire.
Tatooine.
Yeah, so
F
no.
the Empire.
F the Empire. No, so.
Why
you know-
hasn't someone done that? All right, go ahead.
We'll get on that after this. But yeah, so my take is like I'm kind of between you. I'm somewhere in the middle between you guys because I think I'm really intrigued by the director. I'm really intrigued by what you could do with a story of Deckard like 30 years later. But it does have that problem of a sequel that's returning far after the fact. And there just haven't
Frankly,
been
to
many
a cult
successes.
movie. I know we all know about Blade Runner, but honestly, if
Yeah.
you're going through suburban Ohio, how many people are going to have seen Blade Runner?
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's the eras. I think
Suburban
it's-
Ohio, let us know.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's like the generations. You know, it's like kids today. Kids
today.
Don't like their
No, but I
Blade
mean,
Runner.
seriously, kids today may not know Blade Runner at all, and it's like one of those things that you really should watch. It really is like it's got something, not for everyone, but it's got something to sort of teach you, and it's entertaining, and it's awesome.
Well, that's an interesting question I want to ask you guys. What classic kind of, let's just say sci-fi movies or genre movies, but do we kind of assume that people know that they might not, or we assume that they're more interested in than they are? I feel like Blade Runner is one of those.
yeah,
Metropolis.
yeah, from what the 20s.
All those people who are now dead, just if they had just lived
Nosferatu
longer.
doesn't get enough play.
Speaking of Nosferatu, I watched the Werner Herzog one
Yeah.
about a week or so ago. That's a weird flick, man.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's Herzog, but like, I mean, I like Klaus Kinski in the makeup, but everyone's acting like he's just kind of, oh yeah, hey,
I
what's
think it
up, dude?
depends
You're
on-
like, you look like a freak, you know.
I feel like people, if they gave Blade Runner a shot, would enjoy it. I mean, it was one of those things
Or
that
they
we.
say it's so slow because
Well-
everything now is the ADD
I don't know.
generation.
I mean, we had this experience right the other day where the news about Blade Runner came out and that the director was attached, Blade Runner 2, and for us it was like, stop the presses, breaking, and like the story on the site did okay, but number one was the Power Rangers story. Like that
Yeah.
was just way more.
I think it's a
speaking to
generational
the
thing. I mean, I
generation.
do wonder if we've just
Again,
passed the peak of
generations.
that's not a bad idea. If we've passed the point of like 80s nostalgia, like it really is about 90s now.
yeah.
Like
They'll come
it
back to
is.
the 80s.
But I feel like we've been in that 80s well so long now that we've burrowed down into the 90s well. And,
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like it's more. You know, I was thinking the other day when we were growing up. I can just speak for you and I, Chris. But when we were growing up, you grew up with cartoons from the 30s and the 40s
Yeah.
on TV. When we were growing up, cable was new. But you grew up, you watched everything that was on
Westerns
TV.
were still on TV. when we
Westerns.
were
I
growing up.
watched Bonanza and all
in
sorts
black
of,
and white, by the way.
in black and white. Like
Andy Griffith.
you watched everything that was on TV because he just did, because there was no internet,
Yeah,
there was
that's
nothing
all
else
there
to
was
do.
there.
So you watched everything. So you grew up watching cartoons from the 30s and the
couldn't get to the
40s and
drugs.
the 50s and 60s, you know.
Yeah, we
And-
didn't do drugs, okay?
Yeah, and then we had whippets, people.
neither.
No, but and then you grew up with movies that were older movies that were either brought out as revivals or they were shown on TV.
Yeah.
And I wonder nowadays, like, and so that's why you'd have kind of a reference point, a point of reference for cultural references of like Barbara of Seville, things like that. I don't know if nowadays, like, you don't have to watch that stuff if you don't want to.
There's
So
so much information. There's so many different avenues to get information. I know that my
can be
friends
selective, you
with kids, like little 2-year-olds, you know, you know how little kids will drag you by the hand in to watch whatever they're watching? They're watching YouTube.
yeah.
I mean, they're watching weird, random people
That thing is the
sing
best thing to
and do
keep your
stuff.
baby quiet when you're out at
Yeah.
a restaurant. Trust me, I've seen it. My niece, you plunk that iPhone in front of
Yeah.
her, and she's watching Dora, and
Yeah.
like she's. But my
They're
my
not
point
watching
is,
TV, though.
but my point though is that they're not watching older stuff. We
Yeah.
did. We saw. I mean, we saw the old Star Trek reruns. Lost in Space, everything. Like, nobody, I talked to a lot of 20, they've never even heard of it because they grew up in a time when you didn't have to see that if you didn't want to.
Well, and it was a curated experience, and it was a shared cultural experience.
Yeah.
Now, you could go any different path, you know. It's like Minecraft is a great unifier for kids now, but, you know, there's probably kids off there watching, like, Animaniacs, but it's not many of them.
Or they can all be in the same room watching totally different things.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, is that because the internet can connect you with people that aren't necessarily in your direct physical sphere, that if you are into some smaller sort of thing, you know, you can find the people that are also into it and feel like you're part of a community of people that are talking about that thing. You don't have to know them.
I got to say, though, I had a friend of mine, you know, I didn't really watch anime, and she's a huge anime maniac.
Animaniac.
But she's really, really into it, and she introduced me to some of them, and I was getting kind of into it. I was watching some of Attack on Titan.
It's good.
Yeah, I know, it got to a weird place with me, but
Anime always gets to a weird place.
Oh,
anime
that's the
goes
thing I've
weird.
been learning. Like it's
That's kind of what's awesome about it, though. It gets
that is the
really
kind of
weird.
thing. Like it's not kid friendly.
That's why certain things that they talk about, like making into a live action thing, even if you want to talk back in the day, Aeon Flux, which is not, but it was like so not suited to be a live action movie at all.
Well, Aeon Flux's concept is a terrible.
And yet
yet
there are some animes I was watching, or it's not. It's just anime. There's no S on the end, right? If you pluralize it. You know, I was watching one. I think it was called Berserk. And I'm like, that thing could totally work as like a show or a movie.
I feel like that
or
was
something.
being developed at one point.
Possibly,
yeah. Like I mean,
I
don't-
see now, like Keanu always wanted to do Cowboy Bebop. I kind of get that.
Cowboy Bebop is so good.
So just swinging it back around for a moment, because why not?
Why not?
You say yay or nay on Blade Runner 2.
Nay.
Wait and see. What do you say?
Okay.
Can't get off.
I
Easy.
say if it encourages people to watch Blade Runner, then I know I'm going to.
That's the whole reason for the project.
Yeah, but what if it doesn't encourage them? What if it actually retroactively damages it if it's a mess and they don't like it?
I will state for the record, I don't think you can retroactively damage something that's a great work of art. You can. It's upon the individual to like view art the way that they view it. So like if you can't parse out an experience, that's more about you than it is about that piece of art.
Yeah, I don't think that there are any hard and fast rules to it. I think that Prisoners is a really interesting movie, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's a
like
really good movie.
to me, this guy has the right tone and the right aesthetic to capture. I mean, it's a really slow movie too, though. So I'm like, this is a really interesting experiment.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like, this is not like a popcorn kind of
and Blade
movie.
Runner is a slow movie.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
So, which is why I think he actually
Yeah.
has the right kind of tone and aesthetic for Blade Runner. But
Yeah.
But will people be into
want
it
that?
as a result?
We'll find out. Let us know in the comments if you think Blade Runner 2 is actually going to happen. I want to throw out just a couple of quick news items before we wrap it up. They're doing a live-action Beauty and the Beast movie. Disney is doing it's a remake of their own animated hit. Dan Stevens from The Guest and Downton Abbey is playing the Beast, and Luke Evans is going to be Gaston. I think that's pretty great casting. And of course, we already know Emma Watson is going to be Belle.
It's a good cast.
And then Diablo Cody, of all people, is going to be rewriting the live-action Barbie movie. The Oscar winner of Juno, and she also worked on Young Adult. And then,
Which I think is her
like
best
that
movie.
movie
I
a
think
lot.
that's
I
her
think
best
that
movie
one
by
is
far.
probably my favorite. And then we do want to acknowledge, actually, because this happened last week when we were off, that Leonard Nimoy passed away last week, and really, I mean, an amazing legacy. But and I've said we've done our top 10 favorite movies of all time. And Star Trek 2 is mine, and I explained in the video why it is, very personal reasons. But I was wondering if you guys had any particular favorite kind of Spock moment, Spock scene, episode, story, movie.
For me, I mean, it is that moment at the end of Star Trek 2 that was like the culmination. That actually, I think that moment in that movie taught me something about being an adult when I was a kid. It told me some things about like
Radiation.
what life was about, really. Like, this this is how you are a friend to people, and this is how you can be good to your fellow man, even if you're an outsider like he was. And so like his performance of that, but also just the culmination of the entire career to bring him to that point. You know, it just, I really felt it. I was young when that came out. I think I was like 8 or 9 when that came out. We went to see it in the theater. My parents were like, "Oh, he's gonna be scared by all the you know, bug in the ear stuff." And I was like, "No." I came away feeling really like sort of inspired and happy about like. I mean, I wasn't happy that Spock died, but I was happy.
Did
that,
you try to
like,
put bugs in your ears?
I didn't, but I probably at a different time. But yeah, that memory.
That's where the drugs came in.
And I also loved him on Fringe.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say is that for me, I mean, it's hard to beat that moment for Spock, right? Because it is so earned and it is, I mean, everything you just said, it's the culmination. And but I was such a massive Fringe fan, so that when he came on, that added such a gravitas to that show. And I was like so psyched for Fringe to get him on the show, because I felt like it was such a boon for them, and it was such synergy, the sci-fi synergy of it. So for me, him as William Bell was like
Great.
so exciting.
Yeah.
Belly.
I want to acknowledge here just some of the box office stuff because we're going to wrap it up now. But, you know, Focus was #1 last weekend with just under 19 million. It's a pretty lukewarm weekend of the box office, but like it's got a lot of chins wagging that Big Willie ain't exactly Big Willie at the box office anymore. We'll see about that. And then Chappie is expected to, what? Somebody says Big Willie. That's his nickname. What are you, 10?
Just keep talking. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
It's totally fine.
It's funny because it's like a penis.
That's
Funny.
Let's swing it back to that then. I could have done that when you said
Don't you swing that in my face.
That's my butter.
It all comes full circle.
Captain
Speaking of
Phasma.
Chappie, that's his nickname for that. No. Chappie, that's expected to open #1 this weekend, projected at 18 million. I saw the movie. Our review is up on the site. It's more positive than my take on the film, but a lot of people really have the knives out for it. And I think next week we can talk about sort of, you know, Blomkamp and sort of like how this might affect his career. And of course, you know, he's lined up to do Alien 5, but I guess we'll have to see how compromised maybe his power on that one will be now. And then I want to, and then of course Unfinished Business opening this weekend. That's projected for 4th place. And to me, it just really does look like a movie that should have come out in the year 2000.
Yeah, that's maybe past its time, yeah.
And then Best Exotic Marigold Hotel 2.
Don't you judge me. It looks so charming.
Oh no, I love the
It
first
looks
one.
so charming.
I love the
I
first
hear
one.
it lacks the wit and the charm of the first
The
one.
first one was great.
But it's projected to open 2nd place with 10 million. So maybe.
Yeah.
But think about it, Dev Patel, 2 movies opening this weekend, probably both going to be #1 and 2 at the box office. And nobody else talking about that. Dev Patel, hope you're getting some this weekend, pal. You're going to be topping the box office. 50 Shades of Grey has passed 500 million globally.
Did
As
you
we
hear the
knew it would.
recasting rumors?
Yes, but it was shot down, but I somehow think it will
I
end
think
up
it's going to happen.
Jamie Dornan
Jamie
might not
Dornan
be back.
recast.
His wife isn't happy. You know who I suggest? Scott Eastwood.
You know,
He lobbied for the role, and he just did some movie that's coming out where he plays like a horse rider,
A horse.
a rodeo rider
plays a
guy,
as a horse.
and it's like a Nicholas Sparks crap. I don't know, but you know,
You gotta tell us how you feel about Nicholas
Yeah.
Sparks.
I can't
So
make
good.
those gestures.
Get Gosling on that 50 Shades.
Yeah.
Name Nicholas
Oh,
Sparks.
he wouldn't be caught dead.
I know
He's
he
like,
would.
I got
But that's my point, is that they went through every possible actor in Hollywood before, and this is no
Before
insult
going
to
to
but-
Northern Ireland.
but
And
before,
they're like-
before they went to Jamie Dornan,
Yeah.
they went to everybody else first. So
David
Yeah.
Spade's available.
there is a rumor that he's going to be recast.
David Spade?
No,
No.
Jamie Dornan.
Jamie Dornan is the new Joe Dirt.
But I think they're going to have to get almost a total unknown.
Yeah. And then you know what else is really something? This weekend at the box office, American Sniper is poised to become the top grossing movie domestically of 2014 releases. I know what year we're in, but it is now just $4 million behind Mockingjay Part 1, which is the #1 movie. So it's probably going to top that.
Wow.
Nobody saw that coming last year. That
He's gonna
American
snipe
Sniper,
Katniss.
taking out Katniss, taking out Guardians, already took out Captain America. American Sniper, it's a phenomenon, and it top grossing movie of 2014. Clint Eastwood, 80-something years old.
Still got it.
You
There
know,
you go.
amazing. All right, guys. Sorry we had to cut this one short. Roth is raising her hand. Yes, Roth. The class wants to know what you have to say.
Speaking of Clint Eastwood, here's my you probably already seen it, but then my recommendation for the
Oh
week.
yes, our recommendations, please.
Why not see Unforgiven if you haven't seen it? That's
Why not,
It's
indeed.
a great Clint Eastwood Western, and
You weren't going to say Honky Tonk Man or Pink Cadillac, no? Honky Tonk Man, it's him and his son, but that's not my recommendation.
I actually liked the movie that he followed up Unforgiven with. Nobody liked it.
A
Perfect World.
Yeah, it's good.
I
just
really
watched
liked
again
it
recently.
with Kevin Costner.
Boy, they savaged that one when it came out.
They
the critics.
did, and I really liked.
It's not bad. It's good.
Yeah,
But-
I would check out Unforgiven and then give Perfect World a chance.
Chris.
High Plains Drifter.
All right.
All right. My recommendation this week is a movie that opened up last week in limited release. It's called 71, and it's about a British soldier basically gets lost after a riot in Belfast, Northern Ireland during the Troubles in 1971, and essentially has to survive the night. And it's an intense and incredibly, actually, I found it very fair, even-handed portrayal of that whole conflict. There were no easy bad guys or good guys in that movie. And so, yeah, that's my recommendation for this week is 71. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week's podcast. Give us a shout out over on iTunes. Find us at Chris Carl on Twitter, at Roth Cornett, and at Stax, S-T-A-X, I-G-N. As always, give us your thoughts at keepin-it-reel@ign.com so that we don't read them on the air because I'm always getting wrapped up before I'm
That would
ready.
be horrible.
So until next time, thanks as always for listening and watching. We'll catch you next time.